Hey everyone, this is Jan, and you're watching a little daily indie game dev update. Today's Tuesday, Wednesday, the 13th of May. I haven't lost a day. I've just been on a developing train, day job train, that is, at night, and back into developing till like 4 a.m. And there's a lot of plumbing that I had to get done. This weekend, there was a lot of cable management issues, things just not connecting the way they should. This is my desk right here. Shot a little video for you. There are some networking issues all of a sudden with the phone hotspot with a portable Wi-Fi device, which is basically also a SIM card, and usually has very good reach, and just all the various devices that we need to hook up for our remote jobs here in Manila. And then there is making space on a Mac Mini. So I've got the M1 Mac Mini, and I am literally just running out of sockets for all the plugs. So I pulled, since we just moved, I found that one again, a little dock, using one USB-C to connect it, and then having the camera and a mouse and all those things up there, but the sound goes up here for this one. I also needed a USB-C to connect directly to my iPhone because I wanted to see if I could. There's this feature on a Mac where you can have the Mac be a bridge between two devices. So plugging in the iPhone via USB-C to my Mac and then having the Mac play bridge to my router, which is up on the wall, I set up a local network so I can control other devices and then use that local network for the TV and the Xbox upstairs, and then it can even reach downstairs because it's Wi-Fi 6. Pretty good all around. But then I still ran into all sorts of troubles that prevented me from working on the game on Sunday, because basically, like at some point, networks just stopped working. So one day it's working on the Mac, and the next day it's not. One day my phone has 5G, has like literally 200 megabytes a second download speeds, and the next day I'm on the Edge network, which is slower than 3G. Like it just doesn't work. And so eventually I had to like really troubleshoot my Mac, because these problems weren't afflicting my Windows laptop over here. It was doing just fine. And so I had to go in there. I had to I reset network to default on the iPhone. I unplugged everything. I rebooted. Then I went into the Wi-Fi settings and did some shenanigans like with DNS and like all this stuff. Really fun stuff. And eventually I got things to behave again. And so after all that, what does it have to do with the game? My game isn't multiplayer. It's not online. Well, it's kind of like a good metaphor for a lot of the plumbing troubles that I've been having in my game. Over the weekend, I continued playtesting, finding lots of hooks and crannies where weird stuff would suddenly happen, not understanding it. And I really had to go in and go through the plumbing of the game and all the wiring, literally spaghetti code wiring, and I just had to go over all the bools and all the things that I was setting over here, turning off over there, finding that then one would not be turned off, causing problems. Sometimes I would put a check on something, like if you do this, then check for that, and then both true and false would be connected to the same thing, which I didn't understand now why I did that at the time, and then left it. Just forgot about it. There's a lot of wiring that I just had to go over, and I also realized that because of the way diving and going into the water, I also had to control where people could exit the water, so it would be easier for me to check all these variables that I would be turning on and off to make the player go into diving animation, swimming animation, then back to walking animation. Like, this is all very important for my little game to make sure that everything just, flows correctly. Adding a little swimming logo I found for the billboard, so I can just drop it in. So basically, the checks and balances of my game for something as simple as walking, diving, swimming, back to walking again, they weren't quite lining up anymore. Or there were a lot of opportunities for the checks to simply not fire off at all and be bypassed by the player, which then caused all sorts of awkward behavior. Here I'm placing a make sure he's swimming collision box for hot zone, and down there, little stairs icon, that's where I make sure that when you are over here on this slope, switch to walking so that you can walk off the slope and then get on land. Now, in some spots, because some of these hot zones are close together, other problems would ensue. The kind of problems that I've had before, where like you just have to be very careful. Like, oh, is that in some of these places over here, some of these checks are just too close to one another, creating their own problems, right? But this is pretty much what I was doing over the weekend. Then yesterday, I started looking into things a little differently. I shot so much video that I'm now not going to use. I also started finding some areas where the collision, even though I'd been checking this for over a week, was still not up to snuff. So I started using these big rocks. Oh, you can't see that. Sorry. There's those big dark blue boulders, and I started putting them in strategic places to make it look why the player couldn't go there, give the player a reason or understand that you can't go there, adding some more collision in. But I also started looking at the game a little bit differently. So once, just like the Wi-Fi plumbing had to be sorted, once these waterways were pretty much up and running, so you can get in and out as intended, I started looking at the game a little bit differently. Namely, let me just go find that for you. This right here is a little Freeform board. If you're not familiar with Freeform, it's one of the apps that comes for free on the Mac. There is it OneNote? There's something similar on Windows as well that I've used from time to time. Another plumbing issue that I've been running into, completely unrelated to gaming, is that my UK Apple iCloud account, I can't pay for it anymore from the Philippines, so I had to let it go, just expire. And it turns out that some of Apple's apps, not all of them, like the thing I was worried about the most has given me the least problem, which is photos. I thought I would be losing them, but no, I can still go about it the old iPhoto way, which is sync directly to the Mac, have everything be backed up there on 2 spare hard drives, like duplicate, no problem. But some of the newer apps like this one, FreeFlow and Notes, are designed specifically with iCloud in mind. So if your iCloud is full, that means you can't receive email anymore, your Notes won't sync, your FreeFlow boards won't sync. That is still painful. And I thought simply removing the photos would clear out the 800 gigs or something that it is, and then would free up space. No, I'm still out. So there's that. Back to FreeFlow, back to the game. So for now, I'll just have to make sure that my Notes and my FreeFlow boards are on my Mac. I don't lose them. And then I can use them to make graphics like these. So this is a screenshot from the Unreal Editor, like all the way zoomed out, right? This is the first area. This is the area where I've been lining up all the collision. I started thinking about this differently. Like with all the water, all the blue, all the waterways, you can now get in and out at specific spots. You can dive in specific areas. But if I were to rob the player of that ability, stay true to the inspiration behind this game, which is of course one of the older Zelda games from the 80s and 90s, then you don't have the ability to dive or swim at the start. You have to gain that ability from one of the I want to say caves, but like dungeons, right? So without the ability to go into the water or go into the water and drown, I would imagine the player would explore something like this. It doesn't have to be like this, but the yellow line indicates where on land you can go to, right? You can go all the way up here, walk around this area. You can make your way up here, like there's some hidden nooks and crannies. And all these, I don't know if that's actually, all these purple squares and hexagons, those are areas where, with the exception of this one, I'm gonna have to get rid of, unless I put a cave in there afterwards. I thought it was a cave, but it's not. It's just a dark area. These are all caves. These are all dungeons that you can enter. So there's quite a few for you to explore. And so I'm starting to think like, well, what would be the order in which you have to discover it? And or is there no order? What would you have to discover first? Where, so that you can swim? And then so that you can dive in certain areas. What would be the explanation behind it? So I started thinking a lot more like, okay, what are the conversations you're going to have with like the wise old men and women of this world, where they impart information to you? Starting to think a little bit more about how I started the journey a year ago. Like, what is the story I'd like to tell, right? In the past, I had a story of like the player is like taken from his village, and then he's taken through this area, dropped off at a prison, and then you have to get out of the prison, wanting to make your way back to your homestead. Like, that's the motivation. Oh, look, what's this? Type text. What are we gonna type here? Start. Yeah, back to the story. So the whole time when I'm playtesting, because I know exactly what is where, what you can do where, and I'm playtesting that, I move around this whole area like a different way every time. But now I'm starting to think more like, okay, well, what would be a reasonable area to explore and for the player to go to? And I think this could work. Like this small area, like of course my whole world map is much, much larger, but just as a focus for all the gameplay elements that I'm building, this should work for now. Like this is the area, you got a number of caves that you have to, number of dungeons that you're going to have to defeat, items that you're going to get that will allow you to traverse more of this area. So swimming, diving, you can then make your way to areas that were not accessible to you before or accessible in a different way. So right now I think I only have, there's 2 caves that you can only access by swimming. So there should probably be one more. That's what I'd like to focus on right after fixing up the last thing in the water that is still missing, which is currents. The waterfalls don't work. There's certain areas where there should be a current, like the river, making it hard to traverse even if you can dive. So I think I'll be doing that and then moving on to robbing the player of all these abilities and starting to develop some of the caves. That's the plan. So yeah, hit like, hit subscribe if you like this kind of content, watching someone make his own game. It is not yet on Steam. Some time off. I want to have a playable something first. But yeah, so we can stay in touch. Catch you around. Hope you all well. And be sure to drop a link to your own project if you're an indie game developer, or give me some feedback if you like, if you have the time. And I'll see you in the next Daily Indie Game Dev.